Good morning everyone. Today I am going to create a video and deliver a lecture on the concept of scarcity and choice. We will begin with understanding the meaning of scarcity. Now, scarcity refers to a situation when the demand of goods or the demand of resources exceeds the availability of goods or availability of resources. In other words, whenever the demand of goods or resources would be greater than the supply or availability of goods or resources, such a situation would be termed as scarcity. Scarcity of resources is a universal problem. I mean to say that this problem exists at the micro level, that means at the individual level, as well as at the macro level, that means at the level of the economy as a whole. The problem of scarcity of resources exists because our needs, our wants are always ahead of our resources, our means. Now, no matter how rich an individual is, his resources would always become scarce when compared to his unlimited wants or needs. No matter how rich a nation is, it would never find enough resources to produce all the goods and services that it has planned. So, I want to sum up over here that scarcity of resources is a hard fact of life, an unavoidable problem, and this problem may be managed, it can be managed, but it cannot be solved. Coming to the next thing, the market value or the price of goods or resources completely depends upon the level of scarcity faced by such goods or resources. Higher the scarcity faced, higher would be the value or market value or price, like the value of market value or prices of diamonds or crystals. Lower the value, lower would be the market, lower the scarcity, lower would be the market value or market prices. Example, water. If there is no scarcity faced by any goods or resource, there would be no market value or no price, that is in case of air. Now, coming to further concept, goods are not only scarce, the resources are not only scarce, but the resources have alternative uses also. The resources have other uses also. Let us understand this thing with an example. Now, a farmer who is operating at the micro level, he may use his land for the production of wheat, or for the production of rice, or for the production of sugarcane. Similarly, the government of the country may use its tax revenue either for the infrastructure development in the nation or for the purpose of meeting out the necessities of the poorer section. Scarcity of resources and the fact that the resources have alternative uses lead us to the problem of rational management of resources. Rational management of resources means allocation of resources or distribution of resources to various alternative uses. This also could be referred to as the economic problem or the problem of choice. Now, I want to make you understand that the subject matter of economics revolves around the core problem of rational management of resources, or we could say the optimum utilization of scarce resources so that the economic gains could be maximized at the micro level as well as the macro level. Now, at the micro level, a consumer would maximize his economic gain when he is able to maximize his satisfaction. At the micro level, a producer would be able to maximize his economic gain when he is able to maximize his profits. And at the macro level, the society or the country would be able to maximize its economic gains when it is able to maximize its social welfare, and when it is able to maximize the economic growth rate, when it is able to increase the growth rate of the nation. Thus, if I want to explain this thing in a little different language, I would say that the subject matter of economics revolves around that how a nation uses its scarce or limited resources, how it rationally manages or optimally utilizes its scarce resources so that it is able to maximize the economic gains at the micro level, that is at the level of the consumer or producer, and it is able to maximize the economic gains at the macro level, that is at the level of the nation, by maximizing their social welfare. Thus, economics mainly is going to focus on or concentrate on all the economic issues, all the economic problems that arise because the resources are scarce compared to unlimited wants, and the resources have alternative uses. Now, let me just come up with one thing. I think you all are going to agree with me on one thing. The fundamental fact remains that resources are scarce and resources have alternative uses. But the fundamental problem is that the fundamental problem is the problem of rational management of resources. Now, this is all that I wanted to talk to you people about the problem of scarcity. Now I am coming to the second aspect, the problem of choice. Why does the problem of choice arise? We all understand human wants are unlimited, but the resources that are available to fulfill those wants are limited, scarce, and the resources have alternative uses also. Thus, the individual and the society need to make a choice, need to choose which want they should fulfill and which want they should sacrifice. That means they have to select. It is practically not possible. It is practically not possible for an individual or for the society to fulfill all the needs and all the wants. In such a situation, the nation and individuals have to select and have to decide which wants they are going to fulfill and which wants they are going to forego or they are going to sacrifice. Now, let me understand, this decision or this choice has to be exercised by every individual and every society. That means every individual and every society needs to allocate its limited or scarce resources to various alternative uses because they understand completely that the resources are limited. This is the basic economic problem or the problem of choice faced by a nation. Now, problem of choice exists only because these resources are scarce and resources have alternative uses also. Then, choice making here is a very major economic problem, a big major economic problem, because the country understands that completely, or an individual understands that completely, that the resources are scarce, so they must be utilized very efficiently. Let me give you one example. The demand for electricity in India is very high compared to the supply of electricity. This forces us that the electricity should be utilized very carefully and very efficiently. Now, when I am discussing with you the problem of choice, this problem of choice exists at the micro level, that is at the level of individuals and producers, and this problem exists at the macro level also, that at the level of country also. So first I want to discuss this problem of choice at the micro level. Now, the individual economic unit, that means I am talking of a producer or a consumer. they also have limited resources. They also suffer with the problem of limited or scarce resources. So in such a situation, they also need to allocate or distribute their limited resources in such a manner so that they are able to maximize their economic gains. What I mean to say is, a consumer, he has limited financial resources, scarce financial resources. So he is going to allocate or distribute his financial resources among various goods and services purchased in such a way so that he is able to maximize his satisfaction. On the other hand, a producer, he also has limited resources. Now he would distribute his limited resources on the production of different goods and services in such a manner so that he is able to maximize his profits. You all must be aware that microeconomics gives some set of principles or some theories, which I might refer to as theory of consumer behavior, or I could call it theory of demand. Now this theory of demand, actually when this theory of demand it studies, this theory of demand is going to tell how a consumer is going to demand different goods and services, and how a consumer is going to exercise his choice of demanding different goods and services. How a consumer would make a choice as to which want to fulfill and which want to forego. How he is going to select the goods and services that he has to consume and the goods and services that he has to forego or sacrifice. Then another individual economic unit is producer. Producer also has to exercise his choice. He has to choose how he is going to use his limited resources for production of various goods and services. Now, for this purpose, the theory given by microeconomics is production theory. This production theory actually gives us an idea and tells us how the producer is going to exercise his choice of selecting the inputs that he has to use for the purpose of production, how he is going to allocate these inputs in production process, and how he is going to decide what he has to produce and what he is not going to produce. So both the theories, that is theory of consumer behavior and the theory of production, both the theories are giving us an idea how, due to scarcity of resources, the consumer and the producer are exercising their choices as to what to consume and what not to consume, and what to produce and what not to produce, and how they are allocating their limited resources to various alternative options that are available to them. Now, once we have understood the theory of producers' behavior, theory of consumers' behavior, there is one theory which cannot be ignored, because that theory actually is going to give us an idea how the problem of choice gets exercised. That is the theory of price, or we could say price theory, or we could say price mechanism. Let me tell you one thing. We actually have two different markets, commodity market and the factor market. When I am saying commodity market, that means commodity market would be the market for goods and services. Factor market would be the market for factors of production. So here you need to understand how the prices of commodities are going to change, and how the prices of factors of production gets changed and decided and determined. So here the choice will be which factor of production should be having the higher price, and which factor of production should be having lower price. Which commodity should be charged higher price and which commodity should be charged lower price. That is, we understand through price theory. That means once we try to understand the problem of choice at the micro level, we actually need to understand three different theories. The theory of consumer behavior, which tells us how the consumer is going to allocate or distribute his limited income to to purchase of different goods and services. Theory of producer's behavior, which is going to tell us how a producer is going to allocate his limited resources to production of different goods and services. Then theory of price, which is going to give us an idea how the prices of different commodities and different factors of production would be decided. Now this, I told you, how does the problem of choice exist at the micro level. Now I'm going to talk to you the problem of choice at the macro level. At the macro level also, the society is going to face the same challenge. That means the society would face the scarcity of resources. The society is going to face the resources having alternative uses, and the society would also face the challenge of making choices. But the thing is, here the economic gains of the economy would get maximized when the social welfare of the entire economy gets maximized and when the growth rate of the economy gets maximized. So let me come up with you some important macroeconomic components which are going to be used so that we are able to understand the problem of choice at the macro level. Now, whenever the government is going to determine its fiscal policy and its monetary policy, it has to take a decision and it has to frame its monetary and fiscal policy in such a way so that the social welfare of the nation is maximized. Similarly, whenever the nation has to decide how much money supply a nation should have, it would decide it on the basis of that level of money supply which should be able to maximize the social welfare and maximize the growth rate. Similarly, if suppose if the government budget has to be planned, now in the government budget the allocation of the money would be done in such a manner which should be able to maximize the country's social welfare. Now, I have actually completed the entire concept. Let me summarize with telling you only few important things. So you have understood. If I ask you a very simple thing, why does the economic problem arise? Why is there a existence of economic problem? And these economic problems are not related to any particular nation. These are the problems operating at the national level. So why does the problem arise, economic problem arise? Because the resources are scarce and the resources have alternative uses. I would definitely like to highlight one more thing. Scarcity and choice always go together, or scarcity is or the choice is always made in presence of scarcity. What I mean to explain you over here, if the resources would have been in abundance, if the resources were available in abundance, then there was no need of making a choice, because at that time all the goods and all the services could have been produced in unlimited quantity. But this is not a fact. The fact is that resources are scarce. Since the resources are scarce, it is practically not possible to produce all the goods and all the services. Hence, there has to be a choice in deciding what to produce and what not to produce. That means the problem of choice arises because of the problem of scarcity. If there is no scarcity, there is no need of making a choice. Since there is a scarcity, there is need to make a choice. So that is all with this concept of scarcity and choice. I will very soon be coming up with the next concept. Now, I would definitely demand one thing from you people. If you are finding that these videos are actually meaningful for you and they are actually fulfilling your needs, do like and subscribe my channel so that I am able to come up with good quality videos in future also. Thank you very much.